Hi everyone, here to show you the second part of our knife skills videos and to actually do some knife cuts and talk about some of the knife cut names that we see commonly used in the textbook and that are on our lecture guide that refer to some specific knife cuts. And so the first ones I'm going to show are of the stick cuts. So we've got bâtonnet, which is a little bit larger stick. The dimensions of that are usually listed as either a 1/4 inch by a 1/4 inch by about 3 inches, or sometimes you'll see it listed as 3/8 of an inch by 3/8 of an inch by, again, about 3 inches. And the other one that we'll look at is julienne, which is an 1/8 of an inch by an 1/8 of an inch by usually 2 to 3 inches. Oftentimes they might be cut a little bit shorter than the bâtonnet. And some practical uses of both of those cuts for the bâtonnets, think French fries, right? So if we cut a potato that shape and then fry them, then that's typically how they're going to be cut if we were cutting them by hand. And the julienne is usually going to be used for some type of garnish. So usually if you're making a very small, precise cut like that, you have some use like that for it. So for starters, I'm going to do some of the stuff that I talked about in the other video, which is I want to hold the knife by my pointing finger and my thumb and then wrap my other 3 fingers around the handle. And I want to stand with my body position so that I can cut straight away from what I'm attempting to cut, so I can see that my knife is straight up and down, and that's going to help me cut straight. And then the motion again is going to be forward and down as I cut, not just straight down. And with this hand, that's always at risk because you've got fingers there that could get hit by a knife, is we want to curl those fingers under. A lot of times this is referred to as a claw, and holding things with a claw. And it's awkward initially to handle things like that because we usually stick our fingers out. But when you stick your fingers out, your fingers are exposed to be cut. If you use the claw, you can get your knife right up next to your hand and know that your fingertips are safe. So it's a way that when you learn how to cut and you do it more and more, you're able to cut a lot faster because you know you have that safety there. And you don't have to be fearful of the knife. So first of all, I've just got a russet potato here, and I want to square it off. Right? If I want to make all these precision cuts, I want to start out with something that's squared. So I'm going to take my chef knife and make that cut forward to square one side there. And I'm going to do that 3 times. I don't need to do it to all 4 sides because one side I'm going to be holding on to. And so I don't need to square that. But I do want to square the ends as well. And this is going to make this potato, which happened to be maybe about 3 inches long, a pretty good length for making those bâtonnets. Okay, so now if I'm standing the way that I am, again, turned, so I'm kind of facing that way, and I hold that knife right, when I'm looking at the potato and what I'm trying to cut, I can see how much I'm going to cut off the potato. Contrast that to if I stood like this and I was trying to cut it off. I can't really see what's on this side of the blade very well unless I lean forward to look down. If you do that for a couple hours, your neck and back are going to hurt. It's part of the reason, again, why we want to stand like this. So if I stand that way and I mark off, I'm going to try and cut a bâtonnet. So again, about a 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch. Notice I'm far back on the potato with my knife. I'm not way up here on it because I'm going to go forward and I want that room. So then if I just cut straight forward, then I'll end up with this plank that should be pretty even in thickness. Let me do a couple more. So now I've got these 3 planks that are all pretty similar in thickness here to make my bâtonnets. So that's one of the cuts. Now if I stack them up, and you don't want to stack too many, with these maybe just a couple. So if you put too many, then they start sliding around on each other. And I do the same thing. So if I just make that cut the same width, then I end up with these very consistent and squared off sticks that are called bâtonnets. And again, the bâtonnet would be used as something, you know, it might be a French fry, we might be cutting some other vegetable that we're using it on the plate, and then we got this very even sized item that's going to cook consistently, and that is going to also look consistent when it comes to the plating and so forth. So that's one cut. Let me do another one. I think I have enough on this. So the julienne, again, is smaller. So it's about 1/8 of an inch. So that, I can mark off my 1/8 of an inch and make those cuts. I'm going to do a few of them. And if I stack those together, and you notice I just push it up against my knife to make it straight again. And then I do the same thing here. Then I'll have these much smaller, but again, consistent size, squared off sticks that oftentimes referred to as like a matchstick size, that are julienne. And again, typically if I'm cutting julienne of something, we're going to use this as a garnish on something, so that the effort and the skill to take to cut these things is shown to the customers. We're not just doing that to make some potato soup or something like that. So stay tuned for some more cuts on the Dices.